You got a gun, you got a big gun, you got a gun, it's not a real one, and all you ever think about is running away, all you ever think about is trying to stay away from me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the LoudMouth MMA Podcast Network. This is the Not Safe for Work MMA Show. And TikTok, look at the clock. We are ready to go. I'm your host, Kyle Steele, and joining me, per usual, Mr. Fred Kirby. Hello, Fred.
Mr. Kyle.
I am applying hand sanitizer right now. Even though we're in quarantine, I don't want to get whatever you got, Fred. And I'm going to be honest with you, the COVID ain't what I'm worried about.
Now, listen, it shouldn't. I'm going to tell you something, too, right now. I'm using the whole fucking the herd immunity thing solo. You understand me? I'm not fucking using gloves or masks or nothing. I'm just, let me go on and get it right quick. I'll let y'all know whether you can catch it again. I'm ready to get this shit. I'm the type of cocksucker that doesn't like being terrified about something. I just soon get it over with. I go to Kroger's every fucking day. I'm looking for the COVID. I don't want to infect nobody else. I'm not being irresponsible. I just want to get this shit out of the way for me. I'm young. I'm good. My motherfucking immune system's rocking. Let's do it, baby. I'm ready to rock and roll.
I'm almost positive. My mom ended up in the. My mom has a couple various medical things, and she wound up in the hospital with a pneumonia-like something. But they couldn't figure out what it was. They treated it as pneumonia, and she was in the hospital for a couple days. But they said she tested negative for pneumonia and tested negative for the flu. So they didn't know what it was. Well, there's a lot of reports coming out now that this COVID shit had been here for a minute because it started back in like December or something. I mean, maybe possibly even before then. But we didn't realize it was in America yet. And a bunch of people got this pretty intense flu, but nobody quite knew what it was. Now, since the virus has mutated and become a bit worse, but regardless, I'm pretty sure my mom had it because then right after she went to the hospital, was in the hospital for several days getting treated for this lung issue. But again, tested negative for pneumonia and flu, which if you have COVID, you would test negative for those things because there's a specific flu strand that they have to test for. Right after that, I got super sick. And it was all lungs, nothing else. It was all lungs, dude. My chest was just like a night. Everything else was perfectly fine. I didn't have a headache. I didn't have joint, but nothing. It was just I could not fucking breathe, and I was coughing constantly. I just felt terrible. I think at one point I had a fever, but it went away pretty quickly. Honest to God, dude, I might have already had this shit. So, I might be good to go. Because I'm pretty sure you just get it the one time and that's it. Then you end up, you build, an immunity to it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just hoping that that's my thing. I'm building up a slow immunity to it by just moving around. You know what I mean? Just kind of touching things, getting little cunt hairs of it here and there. I should be good to go.
I will say real quick, Fred, I don't think you have any idea how a virus works because what you are describing is not scientifically accurate. So you don't listen. You don't get little bits and pieces of it. That's not how it works. You either get it or you don't get it.
Don't be a fucking dick. I think you're wrong. Listen. When you get a flu shot, do they not give you a cunt hair's worth of the flu to prevent your monkey ass from getting the flu again? Is that not scientifically how it's done?
Can someone clip that? We got a lot of listeners to this show. Somebody clip that. If anybody ever asks how a flu shot works, I just want you I want you to clip that and play it for them. I don't even remember what you said. I'm excited. I need to re-listen. I don't ever re-listen to these. I need to re-listen to this show just so I can hear what you said at the beginning there. Whatever get a monkey hair cut. I don't know what it was. I like that.
Fucking Bill Nye the Science Guy today, and we haven't even got started on any of this fucking UFC MMA shit yet. I'm fucking completely shot out of a cannon this morning.
Wait, is this a UFC podcast?
Fuck, I don't know.
Is this an MMA podcast?
I barely know where I'm at anymore.
Well, let's talk about UFC 249, shall we?
Oh, here we go.
May 9th, 2020. I believe it is not next Saturday, but the Saturday after that.
Yes, because we're in. Well, yeah, it's fucking Sunday, so yeah, we're 2 Saturdays away. But yeah,
So yeah, not this upcoming Saturday, but the Saturday after that, we have a card taking place. We now have everything. He was gonna hide it, right? He said he wasn't gonna tell anybody where it was gonna be. Wasn't gonna give any type of information, which is absurd. How on earth do you think they're gonna keep this shit quiet? Like, there's way too many people involved to keep something like this quiet. But it wound up coming out. Jacksonville, Florida is where they're going to put this. And if there was ever a question, the governor is the only governor to do this, but went out of his way to make things like the UFC and the WWE legal. Like, straight up, like, the difference in the other one was they were trying to go to an Indian reservation in California. There's nothing the Indian reservation, the state of California, could do. However, the state of California didn't want them there, so they went above their heads to Disney. Well, this is a different situation because you have the governor on board to have them in Florida. They're not just going into an Indian reservation in Florida. The state of Florida is like, yeah, come on down. We're cool with it. So, Fred, you have been the ultimate naysayer when it comes to the UFC getting anything done. Basically, I would say at least certainly in the month of May, that you have kind of put it at a 0% chance. Even when they came out and said they're going to do the card of the Indian reservation, you were 100%. This ain't happening. Sorry, guys. I know everybody's saying it is, but it's not, and it wound up not happening. You were correct. You got some vindication for that. I'm just all this to set you up. Do you think this card is happening May 9th now? Are you finally a believer in DW? Do you believe?
yes, yes, I have changed my tune. I gotta say, man. For all the reasons you just stated. I mean, listen, they're not at fucking Sam Squanch's fucking ranch somewhere in fucking California now. They're fucking God love Florida. They're in fucking Florida. What is it, Tallahassee?
I love how the state, they're in Jacksonville. I love how the state of all states, right? Of all 50 states. Okay, close your eyes, Fred. Picture the United States, okay?
Yep.
You got 50 states, okay? Pick a state. Now, COVID. Okay, let's talk about COVID. COVID primarily affects the elderly.
Right.
Okay, that is most people under the age of 65 are perfectly fine. It's 65. 65 is not elderly, but you know what I mean. 65 and up is who COVID is affecting. Now, Fred, picture the United States of America. If you could pick one state where the highest concentration of 65 and older individuals are living, what state is that? It's fucking Florida, right? Like,
gotta be Florida, right? That's where everybody goes to retire.
Where, like, what the fuck? Like, of all states, for this shit to wind up and for the governor to be like, yeah, come on down. It's the state with the highest concentration of fucking elderly people, right?
Is it just me, or has Florida become Texas throughout this whole pandemic?
Florida's wild, baby.
Florida don't give a fuck.
Listen, the thing about Florida that people don't really, and because of Facebook and the kind of viral sensation of the Florida man, I think people are starting to realize it. But for the longest time, I don't think people realized Florida is filled with some of the trashiest people on earth. I mean, truly, like, you get out in the bayous and swamps and whatever else, like, you get on that Florida-Georgia line, or you get on, like, you have some of the just, like, trashiest of humans. And even in places like listen, I'm shitting all over Florida right now, but Florida's a relatively trashy state. So, you know, it just so happens to be a bunch of beaches and shit. So you get wealthy people traveling down there. But as a whole, like, Florida ain't great. I don't know why Florida gets talked up as much. So I'm not shocked that they're becoming kind of a Texas, you know?
You know, honestly, and don't get me wrong, and I'm trying to steer away from the COVID as much as I can, but I'm almost wondering if it's as contagious as they make it out to be. Because shouldn't Florida be dead by now?
Well,
they've pretty much played by nobody's rules. They kept their beaches open until a week ago, and now they're reopening fucking half of the cocksuckers. They're fucking letting shit like the WWE and the UFC come to town and do business. And yet, from what I can tell, Florida ain't doing no worse than anybody else. They haven't turned into fucking Italy or Iran yet, or New York City for that matter.
Here's what we did with COVID, from my very uneducated opinion. But here's what I think we did with COVID. We did what you do with a child when the child leaves the door unlocked. And you say, child, if you leave that door unlocked, someone's going to walk in that door and snatch you up. Is that what you want? You want someone just walking into our house and taking all of your stuff, taking you, taking your toys, taking us, right? And then the older they get, you could be a little bit more graphic with it. You leave that door unlocked, someone's going to come in and slit my fucking throat at night. Is that what you want? If that's not what you want, then lock the goddamn door before you go to bed, right?
Right.
Is that going to happen? Is someone going to walk in that door and slit my throat? Fuck no. That's not what's going to... The chances of that happening are so astronomically low, you'd be struck by lightning 3 times before that shit happened. I mean, it's so astronomically low that someone walks into your house and murders you. It just doesn't happen. Like, unless you're living in a terrible fucking area where... I don't even know, but even then, it doesn't even really seem to matter. The odds of someone walking into a homestead when you are home to harm you is dramatically, astronomically, dramatically low, right? But when you're talking to your kids, you need to dress it up like that's literally what's going to happen if they don't listen to you. Because it's like, dude, like I need you to do what I tell you to do, so I'm going to be as dramatic as humanly possible, right?
Right.
That's what we did with COVID.
But
we painted this picture that this is and was and will be the worst possible thing that could ever happen if you fuckers don't listen to us. If you don't do what we tell you to do, you're going to die. Or maybe you won't die, but you're going to kill your parents. Do you want to be the reason why your parents die? No. Then stay put, right? We painted it to be very, very, very... intense, and I think even worse than it really was, just to get people to listen. Because if you come out and you just say, listen, this is very contagious, but at the end of the day, a gust of wind is going to take the virus off of a hard surface, right? Or whatever it is. Or just by simply spraying a little bit of Lysol somewhere, it's gone. And then it leaves a protective coating on it for X amount of time. I have this stuff you spray and let sit there, and it protects it for 24 hours. You know what I mean? And that's what they use it in stores and stuff. They're 24-hour stuff that just sits there. So anyway, all that to say, uneducated opinion, of course, but, they had to be dramatic. They had to make this seem way worse than it was. They had to give us projections that were like 1 million people are going to die. They had to do that because then people listened. And then people really followed it. I'm shocked that everybody followed this as closely as they did.
Yeah, I know. Fucking murders even stopped in Miami for like fucking 9 days. They even put down the fucking guns, the goddamn crazy fucking barbarians.
And if they weren't as dramatic as they were, that never would have happened. So whether they were right or wrong about the amount of people that are going to die or the intensity or the contagion level or the death rates, whatever it is, I don't care. I don't care if they were wrong about every single thing. At the end of the day, it worked.
Right.
And I think it slowed down what is a very intense flu. This is not a normal flu that was coming through. That's not even a question at this point. I know people who have now died of this. I don't know anybody in my life that's died of the flu. Flat out. I don't know a single person in my life that's died of the flu. I have someone in my life that died of this. So it's like, this is different. And all the people acting like it wasn't, like, fuck off. Like, oh, more people died. Like, how many people do you know have died of the fucking flu? Like,
okay. Okay. Look, so we don't get fucking too deep down the fucking COVID rabbit hole. I do think it's going to happen. Bringing it back around to UFC 249 before we get stuck on this. I do think this one's going to happen. Was it May 9th?
May 9th.
May 9th. Yes, I do think it's going to happen. I would pose a question back to you.
Okay.
Is it responsible?
No.
I do think it's. Okay. First off, do you think it's going to happen? Just
yes.
No?
I think.
Okay.
I think we're basically 95%. Yeah.
I agree with you. Okay, so we're on the same page. We all feel like this is probably a go. Now the question becomes, is it moral? Is it the right thing to do? Should the UFC? Yeah, of course they can do it in Florida. Florida's lost their goddamn mind. They've been letting people. The fact that they let the WWE have a show 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, of course Florida is fucking letting them do it. But should they be doing it?
No, I do not. I think there's no reason for a couple different reasons. One, you're going to throw fights together like Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje that don't need to happen. You know, we could just wait a minute, wait for the shit to pass, and then have the real fight. You know, the last time Ferguson had an interim belt, they took it from him. You know, so it's just like, why even do this? So I don't think it should happen just for that reasoning. You know, we're trying to throw stuff together, and it's just not worth it. I'm very excited for that fight. I look forward to watching it. I'm not on a moral high ground. Fuck it. Like, I can't wait to watch this fight card for many reasons, and we'll get into it. You know, this is an incredible card. So I'm very excited on that level. So do I think it was morally right? Not really, or ethically, or however you want to put it. No, not really. You're people are bleeding on each other, sweating on each other, spitting on each other. I don't know. It just doesn't seem smart. And then you also have a whole production crew to worry about. You got people in the corners. You know, you got staff that work at the venue. Like, it just, why do this right now? Why just wait a little longer here? Like, you're not going to fold. Just wait a little longer. So yeah, no, I don't think it should be happening. Am I glad it's happening? Abso-fucking-lutely. I am definitely not on my high horse about it.
I tell you what, man, I think I have done a complete 180 on this. Now, that's not to say that I didn't say this before, though, because I did think that things were changing rapidly. And my one thing about the April show, them trying to get that, I just thought it was just too soon. Maybe a week or 2 or 3 later. I even said that back then, but it's just that April date, there's no fucking way, and it didn't happen. Now, you've got enough shit that it can actually happen. And I tell you what, I think it should happen. At this point, I think it should happen. And we were talking about it a little bit before we started the show, but at some point, we have got to get back on the horse as a fucking country. And maybe it's not as contagious as they said it was. Not saying that it's not real, not saying that it's not very contagious, but maybe it's not as terrible as they said it was. And listen, Joe Rogan's doing his fucking podcast 4 times a week. He's giving people tests through the front door. If fucking Joe Rogan can do that, you think fucking Dana White can't test every prick that comes into the facility 3 times? They've got tests now where you can get the results in like 10, 15 minutes. And I think that if they can do this and pull it off and it works, I think it's a great thing for morale, not only for the MMA community, but for the fucking entire planet. If they can do this and do it right, and everybody's healthy and everybody comes in and they compete and we all get a ton of joy out of it and Twitter's fucking jumping again and they test them before, during, and after and they do everything right that they could possibly do and these next 2 or 3 shows go off without a hitch, I think it's the type of thing that we can all look at and be like, well, okay, if we're careful and if we're safe, this could be a fucking step in the right direction. And just maybe you could see everybody. Now, again, team sports and things like that are a little different. You're still talking about a lot more different people, bigger stadiums. I don't know how football or basketball would configure into this, but just in general, May 1st, we're in Ohio. May 1st, our state is going to start slowly opening shit. So, you know, maybe this will be the thing to where people are like, okay, you know, be safe, be careful, but let's get back to fucking life as we know it.
There are things about my normal day-to-day life and activities and how I've navigated life for the last 30 years that will change permanently. You know, I'm going to be a lot more conscientious about washing my hands. I'm going to be keeping Lysol in my car, which I kind of used to do that anyway, but like just like in the back. But now I'm going to be more serious about it, and I'm going to keep it up front, and I'm going to be definitely a lot better about like cleaning my phone. I think that's something I've done in the past, but ever since this shit's been starting, pretty much every day I just Lysol my phone down. or wipe it with a sanitizer wipe. Phones are disgusting. Every time you touch something, you touch your phone. Like, even if you wash your hands, your phone's disgusting. Like, unless you're washing your phone too, you're just grabbing it. So I'm moving forward. I think for probably the rest of my life, like, I'm going to be a lot smarter about, just cleaning my area, and not touching my face as much, trying to be conscious about, like, touching my face, because that's what we all do. It's a natural habit. It's not like you're doing it because you want to. Like, it's just a natural, like, you just touch your fucking face. Like, it's something that you do. So I think that's going to, like, really change. Shaking hands. I don't like shaking people's hands anyway. Like, elbow bumps and fist bumps, man. Like,
you know what? It does not get crazy. Okay, look.
I'm just saying, like, these are things. I'm being serious. I'm not even joking. Okay. I think that this is going to leave a permanent scar on the professional world, because there are things that we just don't need to do. Why do we need to touch everybody's hands? Why do we need to do that? Like, we don't. It's not necessary. We don't need to be touching people anyway. Like, just when you see somebody, like, what do they do? Listen, I'm gonna start bowing to everybody. You know what I mean? Like, let's bring bowing to the United States. But no, like, why can't you give someone knucks in a professional setting? Why not? Like, I think that kind of thing, I'm telling you, you will see that kind of stuff change. The other thing is, so many of these places, like CareSource, which we have here local, these big companies that are hell-bent on having employees in-house, that shit's going to change. There's no reason for it. They're wasting tons of money by having to have the office space. People need to start, if you work in IT and you go to an office, your company needs to be set on fire. Why is every single IT person on planet not working from home? Makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. Even when I worked at CareSource, you would have to call down to the IT, which they were downstairs in, like, whatever floor. It doesn't matter. They're in whatever floor. You would call down there and be like, oh, okay, let me remote into your computer. They would remote into your computer from downstairs. Why can't you do that from home? That makes no sense. Why do I have to be there to remote into your computer? Like, it's just silly. You're going to see a lot of changes, I think, in the professional world.
Listen, I agree with you. I think you're absolutely right. But for all of me, whole lot of y'all gonna be running around here with some real weak immune system in 5-10 years. I ain't changing a goddamn thing. These lips have been on some nasty things, and I have had some nasty shit go down. But you know what? I rarely get sick. You fucking deal with that shit. You let the immune system build up. I ain't nothing nice. That's probably why I ain't caught the Ronies yet.
Right.
I've had some nasty shit go in my mouth, Jack. Fucking fuck that. I ain't doing nothing different. As soon as things cool down a little bit, right, I'm going back to life as normal. Don't go fucking coughing in my face like an asshole. But
oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you back in my basement. You will be that for me. Like, you will what keeps my immune system up. Because when you sit down next to me, and I give you a hug when you come in or something, whatever shit you got going on will come into me, and then there we go. That'll help keep my immune system where it needs to be.
It's a good point. I'll go out and risk my ass in the world, and I'll come back and bring you all the good microorganisms you need to keep yourself from fucking turning into a pansy.
So the headline fight for UFC 249 is Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, as we have mentioned. Again, the fight is awesome. I have had no problem with the fight. I look forward to watching it. You want to know what's going to happen? Tony Ferguson is going to, break his arm, and it's going to be in a way that is really difficult to heal from, or he's going to Anderson Silva his leg. Something is going to happen to where it's basically going to put a coffin nail in him ever fighting Khabib. I just why are we doing this? Why are we risking Tony Ferguson's health when every single fight fan on the planet wants to watch him fight Khabib?
I mean, I look, obvious answer to this is because Tony probably wants it. Tony wants it. He probably wants to compete. He probably wants to fucking stay active. It's probably more Tony than anybody, I would imagine.
Well, and this is a chance for him to be really, really in the spotlight. It's the only thing going on, and everyone is really looking forward to it.
Here's the thing. In these situations, I think Dana White gets a ton of shit. Like, people see this and they go, Dana White's such a fucking dumbass. But really, they're just the dumbass. They don't get the other part. Dana White's not fucking stupid, right? He knows this card is fucking loaded. This card does not need Tony Ferguson. He could very well, and I'm sure he, just like the rest of us, would probably rather Tony sit this one out, find somebody else for fucking Justin to beat the piss out of, keep him on the card. It's already probably the most stacked card we've seen in fucking years in MMA. I'm sure he's no fucking dummy. We all want that fight, right? But Tony is probably applying the pressure because he's a fucking madman. He probably feels like he can win this fight. He can keep his status. He can make an even larger claim that, no, fuck that, I'm the real champion. While this guy's over in fucking Russia eating tiramisu, I'm coming out. I'm risking it. I'm still winning fights against top contenders, McNuggets, the whole bit. I imagine this is Tony's idea. Tony's probably the one driving this, saying, no, fuck that. I want the main event. I want my paycheck. I want my money. I've been training for this prick for fucking 6 months, and now I'll fight anybody. Let's fucking make it happen. Yeah.
It takes two to tango. Tony obviously wants it, or we wouldn't be doing it. So
sure.
At the end of the day, like, that's all I need. You know, it doesn't matter what I want. Tony Ferguson wants to fight, and the fight itself is really, really good. I'd be mad if it was Tony Ferguson versus Diaz or something, because then it's like, what are we even doing?
Right.
But it's Tony Ferguson versus the next logical person that if Tony were to get injured and Connor's doing Connor shit, Justin Gaethje would be fighting for the title. You know, that's
sure.
It's a fight that doesn't necessarily need to happen right now, but who cares? Tony wants the fight. Gaethje wants the fight. I'm excited to watch the fight. So fuck it, right? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. All things considered, I mean, what the fuck? We're going to get to watch some fights in a couple weeks. We're all probably excited as shit for it, to be fair.
But now let's get to the next fight. Co-main event, another title fight. This one not for an interim. It is Henry Cejudo at 135 versus Dominic Cruz. He was originally going to fight Aldo. So which fight makes more sense for the 135 strap? Aldo or Cruz?
I mean, look, neither, right? I suppose Aldo.
So the answer is neither, but pick between those two.
Aldo, because he just competed, and even though he lost, a lot of us in the room felt like he beat Marlon, which was the top contender, so on and so forth. There was a little bit of a reason to give Jose the shot. Dominic Cruz ain't fought in like 4.5 years. Like, all bullshit aside, when is the last time Dominic Cruz fought, and who'd he fight?
The last time that Dominic Cruz fought, he has a loss to Cody Garbrandt at UFC 207 in 2016.
I mean, come on, bro. That was 4 years ago.
It's been almost 4 years. It's been 3.5 years since he's been in there.
Now, let me say this. Does he deserve this shot? Again, we just fucking those are facts, Jack. He ain't fought in 4 years, and that was an L. Does he deserve the shot? Fuck no. I probably deserve the shot more than fucking Dominic Cruz at this point. But I'm going to tell you something right now. I ain't mad at it. Not only am I not mad at it, but I think Dominic's going to come in and beat the piss out of that disgusting little fucking Henry Cejudo. I'm excited as fuck for this fight. I don't know what people think it's good. I don't buy Henry yet. I don't care what he did to Marlon or cheating TJ or fucking Demetrius. I don't think he is that great. I think that Dominic Cruz is going to beat the dog shit out of Henry Cejudo. I don't give a fuck when the last time he fought was. I don't give a shit if he lost. I think Dominic's going to throw fucking Henry a beating. Does he deserve the fight? Fuck no. But is he about to surprise some fools and shut Henry's little funny ass up and send him back to a buck 25? I think so.
I very much so disagree. So I guess
I love it.
One of our user questions is referencing Henry Cejudo. I'll read the question as it is given to us. This isn't my opinion. I'm just reading the question. How do we feel about Triple C giving title shots to has-beens? Obviously referring to Aldo and Cruz. Do you want me to address it first?
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
So, first of all, Henry Cejudo's not giving title shots to anybody. He's not in control. He has very little control, in fact. In order for these fights to be put together, Dana White and matchmakers have to approve, right? This isn't Henry Cejudo calling his shots. At the end of the day, he has very, very little power. He has very, very little pull. You put Henry, even with all the shit Henry Cejudo's doing, he's so interesting now, much more interesting than Henry Cejudo ever was. You put him at the top of a pay-per-view, and that thing does nothing. So I think it does more than Demetrius Johnson did, but not by a whole lot. So at the end of the day, he still needs to be carried by another big name to really get people involved in the pay-per-view. Now, as far as Aldo and Cruz then being has-beens, I don't agree. Certainly with Aldo, he's still been fighting, and he's fighting the best competition in the world. You know, it's not Marlon Moraes is one of the best 135ers in the world. Not just UFC, but just in general in the world, he's one of the best. You know, so Aldo is not a has-been in that sense. He's still fighting the best in the world. He's still in the UFC. Dominic Cruz, that's where the question mark is. He hasn't fought in a long time. I don't know if he is or is not a has-been. I would imagine he's not at the level that he was, but I don't know. Let's see him fight, you know, and let's see if he's a, quote, has-been, you know.
As of right now, he is not a has-been. Not yet, because we don't know. His last fight was 132 years ago, and at that point, Cody Garbrandt was a bad motherfucker, and that fight was relatively close. Dominic didn't get snuffed out. Matter of fact, to the best of my knowledge, I can't remember the last time Dominic got sparked out and finished in a fight. He has been competitive in every fight he's had for as long as I can fucking remember. The only issue is he hasn't fought in 4 years.
I will say, I do disagree a little bit. Cruz was absolutely schooled in that fight with Garbrandt. It was kind of crazy to watch. I mean, he didn't get snuffed out, correct, but he was schooled. I mean, it was like those little combos that Garbrandt were putting together, the causing Cruz to whiff over and over and over and over again. It was kind of crazy. It was like I didn't expect that.
I think there was a little bit of the John Jones effect in that one, though. Again, coming into that fight, Cody was on a hot streak, but I just think that Dominic was the man. And when when Cody was somewhat Dominic, you know, he was doing his own thing on Dominic. He was doing what Dominic usually does to people. I think that gained a little, you know, I don't know. He didn't get sparked out. You're right. Cody had a very impressive performance that night, but Dom didn't look like he shouldn't have been in there.
Well, and it seems like that's what Cejudo would have to do. He's certainly not going to be able to. Cejudo's been getting by here, knocking some people out, which is kind of crazy, given his history. I don't think that's what's going to happen to Cruz here. And Cruz is a decent anti-wrestler. So what is Henry Cejudo, like, what's his game plan here? I mean, I think that's why you're predicting that Cruz is going to get the win here. I think Cejudo's good enough. I'm just not worried about it. I think he's also still in his prime and the whole shebang. But if there is a question mark about pathway to victory here for Cejudo.
Honestly, I don't think he's big enough. We'll see. Maybe Dominic. I mean, again, it's been 4 years, so let me not get too cute. I mean, Dominic might be slow. He might look completely different. But if he looks anything like he used to, like you said, he's a great anti-wrestler. His defensive wrestling is fantastic. His offensive striking is fucking otherworldly. His footwork, we all know about. Like, I don't know what. I mean, maybe Henry lands another big punch, but short of that.
I wish that Cruz had been more active in this time period because, you know, because I think people are forgetting, you know, and I think people they're not giving enough. They're not giving enough to what Cruz might be able to do here. But it's because he hasn't fought. If you haven't fought, how can we give you credit for something that happened 5-6 years ago? You know, because his last fight was a loss. So, you know, when was the last time he had fought before then? Let me look real quick. I believe it was the win over Faber. Yeah, so his last time he won almost literally 4 years ago, and that was his win over Faber, of all people. So it's like, I mean, it's...
But, to be fair, Faber just went the distance with Peter Yan. Now, did he get the piss beat out of him? Yes. Was that fucking 4 days ago? Yes. So, and Dominic beat Faber 4 fucking years ago. You know, shout out to fucking Jonathan Snowden. Suck my fucking dick, you damn bitch. One of the few people that's got me blocked on Twitter because I fucking said that Uriah Faber is a surefire Hall of Famer. He fucking is.
By the way, Peter Yan did knock out Uriah Faber in the 3rd round. The very beginning of the 3rd round.
Whatever.
It's okay, but listen, the point still stands. The point still stands.
It was 6 days ago. He lasted 3 rounds with him, and before that, he had a fucking win against somebody that was at least remotely decent.
Ricky Simone.
There you go. Okay, he had a win over Ricky Simone in fucking what? 2019.
Yes, July of 2019.
So, a win over Uriah Faber 4 years ago actually still meant a little something at that fucking time.
Yeah, he had beat. So here's his record going into that. Lost to Frankie Edgar, beat Frankie Saenz, then he lost to Cruz, then he lost to Rivera, then he beat Brad Pickett. And then he didn't fight for a few years, came back, beat Ricky Simone, and then lost to Peter Yan.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, like, all I'm making is that he's still. This isn't BJ Penn we're talking about. All due respect to fucking BJ.
That's the true point. So we're getting a little bit in the weeds. So let's get out of the weeds real quick. A has-been is someone that's proven they're a has-been.
Sure.
BJ Penn has proven that he is a has-been.
Sure, absolutely. There we go. I mean, if we're being fair with the term, and again, BJ Penn's my favorite fighter of all time. It depresses me. BJ Penn is a fucking has-been. We don't know if Dominic's even close to that. He's world class.
And then guys that lost some fights, left the UFC, and then won some mediocre fights outside of the UFC, lost some mediocre fights outside the UFC. Those guys are has-beens.
Sure.
You know, but someone like Cruz, we don't know if he's a has-been yet. And Aldo most certainly is not a has-been. He's just not where he once was. But he's not a has-been by any stretch. He's still fighting the best competition in the world and either beating them or being competitive.
Extremely competitive.
Next up on the main card, we have Ngannou taking on Rosenstruck. Just a fantastic fight. What else do you say about that?
Exactly. There's not a whole lot to say about this fight. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a ton to say about this fight, but for all of me, it's just like let's get to it. I think for me, I guess this is how you say the prick's last name, Rosenstruck.
I think it's Rosenstruck, but I always get it wrong. I don't pronounce names right ever, so I don't know. Don't listen to me.
For me, this is his test. Like we all probably assume that Francis wins this fight, and then we start talking about him in a title fight. But I guess the real big question mark for me in this fight is Rosenstruck. How good is he? Can he come out and knock out Ngannou? Because then we're cooking with some fucking bacon grease as far as he goes. So this is one of those fights where I feel like we're going to learn a lot one way or the other. We're going to has Francis completely exercised those demons of the fucking Derek Lewis fight and then the loss to Stipe? Is he ready for that title shot again? Or is, on the flip side, Rosenstruck the real fucking deal? And quite frankly, I'm glad we don't do predictions like that because I got no fucking idea, really.
I think Ngannou probably knocks him out, and I think he does so relatively early on. But again, I have no idea. I'm with you. I'm just excited to watch the fight. That's all I care about at this point. I want to watch the fight. I'm excited for it. I'm here for it. I'm all about it. Let's watch that fight. That fight could be the main event of I think it was at one point. That fight could be the main event of a fight night. You know, and I think we'd all be jacked about it. Was that UFC Columbus?
It was.
Was that the main event?
It was supposed to be our goddamn main event here in Ohio.
I don't think that's something I don't think I've talked about in this podcast. Just the sheer when they refunded. I bought box seats to UFC Columbus with some friends. You were not able to go, but with some other friends, we got box seats together. And so not only was I going to be at UFC Columbus, UFC hasn't been to Columbus in the words of Fred, a month of Sundays. I was so excited. And then not only do I get to go, but I get box seats. I got box seats to it. I was so fucking excited. When that refund showed up on my credit card, I about cried. I'm like, damn it. Like, I thought for sure they're going to get this figured out.
To be fair, it's probably my fault. The MMA gods could not allow a UFC event to take place in Ohio, and Daddy Fred just not be there. They just didn't see it fit, so they had to conjure up some shit. Y'all couldn't just be going without me.
If they rebook Columbus, you're going with me. Now you don't have a choice.
That's right. I can't be having the Black Plague spread because of this shit.
No. All right, Jeremy Stevens, Calvin Cater.
Jesus
just
Christ.
a wonderful fight. Just a wonderful fight. By the way, you and I always shit on cards, and everyone always gives a shit for it. Make all the cards like this. Then we won't shit. We're not going to shit on any of these fights. There's not a single fight on this card that I'm going to shit on.
Yeah, I know.
Spoiler alert. Like, I love every single fight.
And listen, you're a bit of a new fan to the sport, like all bullshit aside, not trying to, throw any fucking hipster Twitter shade. But back in the day, I hate being this sort of fucking hipster fucking Twitter twat, fucking MMA cunt. But back in the day, this is what cards actually look like. There would only be one card a month. There wasn't fucking 3 fight nights throughout the month and shit. But, there'd be one card a month and they would be fucking stacked like this. This is what it really reminds me of, like UFC cards from like 9 years ago, UFC or Ultimate Fighter 1, 2, 3 season edition. Like right during that fucking time frame, man, the cards were so fucking stacked.
Yeah, nope. And then the first fight of the main card is Greg Hardy, Jorgen De Castro. So, again, say what you will about Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy has tons of controversy, not just outside the UFC, but in the UFC. Jorgen De Castro just beat Justin Tafa, which I think people weren't really expecting. Knocked him out. So this is a good fight. Greg Hardy, again, let's look at the fights he's had in the UFC so far. He loses his debut because of an illegal knee, which I think people really overinflated. Then he beats Dmitry Smolyakov. Then he beats Juan Adams. Okay. Then he gets the loss to Alexander Volkov, which people thought he was going to get just absolutely obliterated, and he didn't. And he took the fight on super short notice. Did something that nobody expected someone like Greg Hardy would do. And then again, let's not forget, I believe he wins the Ben Sosoli fight, but gets to overturn to a no contest because of the inhaler, which is crazy. It's crazy he did that, but whatever. I mean, this is the thing with Greg Hardy. He's a lot better than we think he is. He has 1 no contest and 1 loss. He has 2 losses, but I'll get to the second loss in a second. He has 1 loss where it was a legal knee, where he was winning. And then you have the Sosoli fight that he wins because to overturn to a no contest. And then, of course, he lost to Volkov on short notice. I mean, what the fuck? What did you expect? Other than him to get knocked out immediately by someone like Volkov. So the fact that he even went to a decision is phenomenal. So, anyway, there's that. I think if he gets a normal win over De Castro here, I think people are going to start putting some respect on that name. I think this might be the respect gainer.
Oh, well, I think it probably for sure. Some people are always going to hate him because
you should have given him some respect. Just from I need to get that. That is like a drop. The Birdman.
Yeah. Put some respect on it, baby.
He's crying. It's one of the greatest things to ever happen. But he should have got the respect just from the fight he had with Volkov. Taking that shit on very, very short notice, getting in there with one of the top people in the world and going to a decision, and not just getting obliterated.
Yeah, for sure. That deserves its credit, no doubt. But you know what I like about Greg Hardy? Nobody is indifferent towards him. It's either love him or hate him. Either you're here for it and you want to see him get knocked out, which is usually the case, or for whatever reason you actually enjoy him or his past or, the story or whatever. But he's, when he fights, Twitter will be lit. Maybe it'll be a bunch of people wanting to see him get knocked out. Maybe it'll be some people fucking singing his praises, but it won't be a smoke break. Like, either way, he's polarizing, and I enjoy that about him. I don't particularly like the prick. I think the shit that he did in the past was fucking heinous, and I want to see him get his fucking ass beat. So I'm one of those people who's tuning in to see him take a fucking beating. Yeah. He took a little bit of one in that Volkov fight, but quite frankly, the cute prick fought pretty valiantly. Like I want to see him take a beating. You know what I mean? Like one of those good beatings, like where fucking he's getting the shit beat out of him and he can't get out of there, and a fucking another man's holding him down, beating the fuck out. I want to see him fight DC or the like, which never happened.
Right.
That's what I'm
this
waiting.
shit off straight, telling all three of y'all stop playing with my name.
Let's go on there. Let's go.
Stop playing with my fucking name.
Go on
Let's
there.
do it on camera.
Stop playing with my name. I
Let's
ain't
go
gonna
right
say it
on
no
in.
more.
That's hey, listen, that's Grant Carter.
Hold on.
Nigga, when my name come up, respect it.
Respect it.
Respect
I
it.
ain't
Put
gonna
some
say it
respect.
no more.
He said no
That's
more.
the-
Talk to your man in your face.
Absolutely.
You understand me?
He's about to
I
cry.
knew a few places you was at. I could have pulled up, but I don't think that was gangster. I wanted to come look in your face like a man and tell you how I feel.
Okay.
You understand me? Straight up like a man.
So what's
No
the
shit,
issue?
no sugar. Ain't no issue. If it was an issue, you'll feel me.
There was an issue you to feel me.
Love
I just
her.
come to let y'all know, stop, put some respect on my name. You understand me? When y'all saying my name, put some respect on it.
Did you pull up on Ross that way or Trick Daddy?
Man, I'm pulling up on you, nigga.
It's my favorite line.
Yeah. But I'm the radio guy. Why pull up
Yeah,
on the
who you
radio
is?
guy? Don't act tough with the radio
I
guy.
hear you, my nigga. Y'all finished or y'all done?
Y'all
I ain't
finished
got
or
no
y'all
more
done?
talking. That's right.
Oh boy, that was fucking. I'm talking to you.
I love that. Y'all finished or y'all done?
Oh boy, he turned himself into a walking meme with that one.
Oh my gosh. The amount of the degree to which he is sad is just astounding. He is so sad. His voice is quivering and shaking. It's like, man, you can't, that's not, you don't look hard in that moment. Like that's not, you're saying hard stuff, but you are not hard in that moment. You are, boy, that's wild that he allowed himself to do that.
Is y'all finished or is y'all done? Is quite frankly, for all of me, one of the greatest lines ever uttered on radio.
Is y'all finished or is y'all
Is
done?
y'all finished or is y'all done? Goddamn bravo, Birdman. You ain't nothing nice. Like the fucking Tito Ortiz of rap.
So, right. All right. So that was the main card. What we just went over, that was the main card. We're now in the prelims. Okay. Here are your prelims. Headlining prelim.
And this is where it gets really good. Sorry to cut you off, but like the main card is very good, but we kind of had. This is where the card gets real fucking deep.
You have a rematch between Donald Cerrone and Anthony Pettis.
Brilliant.
Well, okay, let's talk about that fight real quick. I was gonna gloss over it, but let's talk about that for a second.
They're a little old. I hear all the pricks out there. They're 140. Yeah, so what? But I think it's bound to be an entertaining and exciting fight. They're kind of at similar points in their career. This is almost like a loser leave town sort of fight.
Give Cerrone a chance to try to right the wrong. You know,
right. A lot to like about this fight, and it's again almost guaranteed going to be fun and violent. They're very similar fighters, very good and active and offensive on their feet, and very good and active and offensive off of their backs or while they're grappling. Like, how the fuck does this fight suck? The first one was good. Anthony Pettis, I think, won with a body kick, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. Yeah.
Look, what the fuck, man? It doesn't have extreme division relevance, but like it's a really fun fight.
Agreed. Let me get back to the card. I believe the next one was Verdum and Olenek, but let me get back to the card. Yep. Okay, next prelim, you have Fabricio Verdum versus Alexei Olenek. I'm all about this fight.
I fucking love this fight. This might be, and I know this is going to sound like a real hipster thing to say, this might very well be my favorite fight on the fucking card.
Interesting.
Fabricio's coming back after a month of Sundays. We call him cheating, but you know how we do in MMA. Nah, mum's the word. Who cares what he was fucking suspended for? He's back, Jack. And Olenek, he's the fucking prick with the fucking
the problem is the way that he has won a lot of these fights, and he wins with arm bars, rear naked chokes, and then of course Ezekiel chokes.
Ezekiel, that's what it was.
You
Yeah,
ain't landing an Ezekiel choke on Verdum. Period. Hey. It's not happening, and the chances of a rear naked or an arm bar are pretty low. Those at least could Ezekiel choke cannot happen. It just can't. Because the thing is they're easy to get out of. It's a lot of people he's got them in just didn't know how to get out of them. But someone like Verdum is not going to fall into that trap.
Listen, I agree with you. But the fact that we're going to see another big man that is very good at applying that hold try it on Verdum gets my fucking snake all fucking riled up.
I think he'll end up getting submitted, honestly, Olenek will. Because he's going to try to go for, again, armbar, rear naked, neck crank. This generally is the way that he's winning. So in the UFC, he's won by neck crank. He knocked out Rosholt. Okay? I'm not going to go through his losses. Ezekiel choke on Pesta, neck crank on Brown, Ezekiel choke on Albini, rear naked on Hunt, and armbar Maurice Green. Those are the ways he's winning. Only one of those is a knockout. Everything else is a submission of some type. Maybe he could neck crank Verdum, because, again, I don't care how good you are at jiu-jitsu. If someone's cranking your neck, it just kind of is what it is. Like, I don't think he would tap to that, but someone who's that strong, again, man, the problem is you freak out in that moment, right? Like when someone's crank, like what happened to Connor. I love how people like to paint that as being some, like, man, it wasn't even a real submission. It was a neck crank. What, dude? Let someone who's that fucking strong crank on your neck to the point you think your head's gonna pop off. Like, you go into self-preservation mode. Hey, do I want to be paralyzed for the rest of my life, or should I just tap on this guy's back and get out of this? You know what I mean? Like, it's not worth it. I don't want my neck to break. Is your neck gonna break? No. No, it's not. But that's what it feels like. And you start freaking out in that moment. I don't want to become a vegetable. I'm just going to tap on this guy's back and be done. I have a hard time seeing him beating Verdum like that. To me, if he gets him by submission, it's going to be like a neck crank. It's going to be kind of early on, super, super strong, gets a hold of Verdum's neck in a weird way, and Verdum is like, oh shit, and taps. That's the only thing I can think of. Like, can you seriously imagine him like in an arm bar?
No. Listen. I completely agree with you. I highly, highly, highly doubt that Olenek is going to tap Verdum. But like you said, way more than likely, Verdum taps him.
Yes.
But the fact that somebody is going to probably be more than
trying
willing the fact that somebody's going to be more than willing to engage Verdum in a grappling fight is just exciting for me. Usually, when Verdum fights somebody, the strategy is very fucking simple. Don't get pressed up against the cage, and sure as fuck do not let this dude drag you to the ground. Sprawl and brawl, keep your distance, striking. Like, nobody really wants to grapple Verdum, but here we have Olenek, who that's his bread and butter too. So I think that Olenek will probably try to box with him for a moment. Like, hey, let's see. Because listen, here's the thing, right? Fabricio definitely has better jiu-jitsu and a better grappling game, but that ain't nothing a good clean right hand can't clean up.
And here's what it is. There's that, and it's like Verdum clearly has the better jits, but to me, Olenek is the stronger guy.
Right.
And that matters. Like, if there's even any type of equaling out in a certain position, the guy who's stronger is going to win out. Or even if tier A and tier B, the guy who's tier B can use just sheer bruteness to get up to the tier A. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Now, if you have no idea what you're doing with jits or any type of just ground game to speak of, and I don't care how strong you are, it's not going to work. Right. But if you're super competent in that area, and you just so happen to be stronger than the guy who's more competent, that might equal each other out a little bit. So I don't know. You're correct. It's a very good fight. Like, I am interested in watching it. I'm interested in the outcome. I'm interested what Olenek's game plan is going to be.
Right.
I'm interested in, does Verdum get a little stand up happy and not even really try to do a whole lot? I'm interested. I'm interested in what direction this fight's going to go.
Look, bottom line, fantastic fucking fight. Not that it matters, not that this is a prediction show, but for all of me, Verdum should win by submission, but super exciting fight though.
Carla Esparza versus Michelle Watterson.
This is a good fight. This is, I think it'll be super. Again, it'll probably be super exciting. I think we all know what Esparza, classic fucking striker versus grappler sort of battle. But I think the Karate Hottie should clean her up relatively easy.
This is a fight I like. It's obviously this card is so stacked, and I hate doing this because I always feel like we're being sexist when it seems like the women fight is the one that we're kind of poo-pooing. I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm excited for the fight. I like the fight. It is the worst fight on the card. I mean, if you look at everything else, I mean,
Sure, facts are facts.
Yeah, I mean, it's the least interesting fight. It's the one I don't really care to see what happens.
To be fair, it's also, for all me, it's Carla Esparza. I don't mean to be a dick, but she's the stinky one. Like, Karate Hottie has still got a nice little name and profile. I feel like if she wasn't fighting Esparza, if she was fighting somebody, a little bit more highly ranked or something, the fight would be a lot more interesting. But, what the fuck has Esparza been up to? I feel like I haven't seen her fight in a month of Sunday. She hasn't beat nobody relevant lately, has she? I feel like she's just got the balls to fight on this card and don't got the COVID, so they're like, come on down.
Well, so she's beaten Cynthia Calvillo, which was a big win. After that was 2017.
Oh, okay.
She then lost her next two against Claudia Gadelha and Tatiana Suarez, which Tatiana Suarez is a fucking monster. She then beat, I don't even know how, Jandarobia. I don't know who that person's name is not jumping out to me. And then she beat Alexa Grasso.
Okay.
Which is a good win. It was a majority decision, but a good win nonetheless. So it's okay. This fight makes sense. It's a good fight on paper.
I think Grasso was always a little bit overrated because she was pretty. Not to be that sort of guy, but I think.
Then you have Jacare Souza, Uriah Hall.
Ooh, that's a good fucking fight.
Give this fight to me all day, every day.
Yep.
Vincent Luque, Nico Price. Oh. One of my favorites. Oh, absolutely one of my favorites.
Sheer violence, Jack.
Love it. All about it. Charles Rosa, Bryce Mitchell. Give it to me all day.
I'm telling you right now, man. You know how some people love, the broads love accents and shit like that? And, not in a fucking sexual way, but I love fucking hillbillies or a real fucking southern drawl accent. Bryce Mitchell's the hillbilly, right? He's the camo prick.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's like, I need me some camo from Reebok. Me and my lizards are gonna go hunt alligators. I fucking love those fucking people.
He fights out of Arkansas, so very real possibility. I don't remember his voice.
I'm almost positive it's him. Super fucking hillbilly. Really, really tough fighter too. To be fair, I think he fucking pulled off. If I'm not mistaken, he's the prick that pulled off the twister.
Oh boy,
didn't he pull off a twister submission? Am I just fucking making shit up? Or
he did.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. We love jiu-jitsu down in Alabama or wherever I was raised. I can listen to this prick talk all day. I need some camo shorts, Reebok.
His nickname is Thug Nasty.
Fucking brilliant. All right, I'm rooting for the prick too. Charles Rosa, the other guy's always action-packed fighter. To be fair, bit of a middle-of-the-tier road guy, but fucking exciting fight.
But it'd be a good win for Bryce if he gets it here.
Exactly. And he's got a little something. Believe me, I'm not the only one that likes that sort of weird hillbilly vibe he's got going. When he fight, he's a very exciting fighter, and he's got an interesting personality.
And then last but certainly not least, you have Ryan Spann taking on Sam Alvey at 205.
I mean, listen, R.I.P. Sam Alvey. Literally not a nice. You know how you always hear people say, "Oh, such a nice guy, such a great guy." Literally not a nicer guy in the sport than Sam Alvey. When I was doing fighter interviews a month of Sundays ago, I think I interviewed fucking Sam 3 or 4 times. Most fighters act like they're fucking, Bruce Willis. They fucking, sometimes you got to talk to their manager, and it's like, dude, you fight in Bellator. Fuck off with the manager. It was fucking chaos. Fucking Sam Alvey was the easiest, chillest guy to get a hold of. He would be super accommodating to your schedule. He would actually make sure that he was in a quiet fucking room, for Christ's sake, so you could hear him. Sam Alvey's a fucking great, great dude. All that being said, I think he's going to get fucking snuffed in this one. I mean, matter of fact, not only do I think that he's going to get fucking snuffed out in this fight, but I think his next fight might be in Bellator. I mean, I think he's a fun fighter to watch fight. He's always in exciting fights, but I think we are all pretty aware of where Sam Alvey's ceiling is. So that's a bummer.
Yeah. Agreed.
Shout out to Ryan Spann, though. Was it Ryan Spann? Right?
Yes. Very, very good.
he's a fucking beast. And I mean, this will be a bit of a challenge, but I think he's the one for us to keep our eye on.
He has a guillotine choke against Devin Clark, knocked out Nogueira, win over Luis Henrique, and then he got into the UFC on the Contender Series with a guillotine choke over someone who I don't know.
Yeah.
And before that, he has a win over Alex Nicholson. What got him onto the Contender Series was an LFA win over Nicholson, and before that, an LFA win over Myron Dennis, who's also very good.
Yeah. Ryan Spann's the real fucking deal. He's been a prospect for quite a while now on all the little MMA nerds.
And then his last loss is Carl Robertson on the Contender Series.
Mm-hmm.
And then before that was an LFA loss to Trevin Giles. So,
all names we recognize.
Yes. So he is there. He is good.
For sure. And that's the first fight of the night, right?
First fight of the night. Jesus
Christ. What a fucking card, man. Again, I hope to God nothing goes wrong. I hope nobody fucking catches anything. But, I've been very critical of the UFC about trying to pull this event off. And for the April show, I was super fucking negative and critical. But at this point, I think I've come around, man. I hope they got the proper testing and stuff. But again, I think I speak for fucking, the rest of the fucking combat sports world and community when I say, some of us really need this. Look, man, I've got other interests in life, but there are some motherfuckers out there. I've noticed through MMA Twitter, boys, some of y'all need this bad. Like, I really want to watch some fights, but I've got kids and shit. I'll be all right otherwise. But some people out there, they fucking need this shit, man. And people are really looking forward to it. So shout out to the UFC and Dana White for, continuously not giving up on this thing. It would have been really easy for DW to just go back and be like, hey, I've got $300 million to just go spend and fuck off with in my fucking huge mansion. Fuck it. We'll come back when people are ready. He has not stopped with getting these fights going. And believe me, it's not because he needs the money. You know what I mean? So, shout out to Dana White, man, for having the passion to keep this sport going, even in the fucking worst of times, for better or for worse. Again, he's not doing it for the money at this point. Whether you guys see it or not, it is probably not for the fighters per se, probably just for the UFC brand. But like, he's trying to keep the fucking sport alive. So shout out to him for doing it.
There is supposedly a card that's going to be titled UFC Fight Night in Jacksonville. Of course, the following Wednesday at 5 p.m. So this will be interesting. I don't exactly know what this is going to end up being. But right now they only have 4 fights booked. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I imagine next week we'll have a little bit more clarification on what this card's going to be. At some point, they need to rebook Amanda Nunes. She was originally going to be on this card, but pulled out due to concerns, didn't want to move too quickly. They were going to do an interim. Oh, no, not an interim. They're going to do a title fight at 145 with her and Felicia Spencer, which, whatever. It's a fake division, but I'm okay seeing fights in it. So that's where we're going to be. We'll see if that gets rebooked. I imagine next week we'll have more clarification. I also imagine that next week we will have much more clarification as to whether this card is really going to happen. We'll also probably have some fights get moved around. It's just my guess. I don't know, but I'm just guessing that we're going to have some type of issue pop up by the time our next recording comes around.
Oh, yeah. I mean, things are changing probably daily with this shit, too. But overall, I do think the fights are going to happen on fucking May 9th. So everything after that is up for debate.
Next week, we'll probably address some of that stuff. And next week, we're going to talk about Fight Island.
Oh, damn. We didn't get to that. Okay.
We got to talk about Fight Island. So
for sure.
All right. Well, I will see you next week, Fred.
All right, my man.